What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to the scorecard, the boxing scorecard, where I ask people to bring your scorecard and an explanation, not just simply your opinion. Last night, we had a fight that was kind of quiet under the radar, but a big fight within the boxing industry for the WBA Super World Light Heavyweight Championship between Dmitry Bivol. That's the guy that just beat Canelo in his last fight, against Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez, who is not well known but is very good. Who was 44-0 going into this fight. Very good, not just because of his record, but because of his skill level. So he was undefeated going into this fight at 44 matches. From Mexico, 31 years old, and a southpaw. And the thing about him, about Mr. Ramirez is kind of his body frame. His body frame is different because anyone that saw the match last night, you can clearly see that Zurdo Ramirez was just physically bigger than Bivol. He was taller and just looked bigger. But the thing is, he just not recently, his past 5 fights have been at light heavyweight, but he used to fight in the lower weight class, which is very surprising to me when I found that out because again, he just clearly looked bigger. Some notable wins on Ramirez's career are Yuneski Gonzalez, who wasn't a champion, but a very good, I guess you could say, a gatekeeper, a B+ fighter. He put it on him, stopped him. He also stopped Sullivan Barrera, who was a good challenger for Andre Ward. Tommy Carpensy, Jesse Hart, he beat too. A few good guys on his record. Gilberto Ramirez Sanchez, actually, is his full name. On to Mr. Dmitry Bivol from Russia. Whoa. I'll get to the scorecards in a second here. Dmitry, of course, is going to give me problems. Come on now. Dmitry Bivol, who only has half the fights as Ramirez. I believe he's 21-0 with not as many knockouts, but the skill level was still there. Of course, my box rec is messing up right now, so I can't get to it. But anyway, Mr. Bivol, I believe he's 21 or 22 wins now, still undefeated, obviously. He also has an impressive some good wins on his record against the biggest win on Dmitry Bivol's record is against Canelo Alvarez, obviously, in his last outing. And the thing about these two guys is this: even though they're not, they are not household names, they're not names that even a lot of people would know, they're still very good. And it wasn't like a very populated fight. Like not a lot of people were talking about this, but it was still a very good fight within the boxing world because these two guys are very good. The reason why it wasn't really talked about, these guys aren't on social media like to get their names out there like that. Like for example, in the UFC promotes their fighters, so that's why everyone knows who they are. But in boxing, the promoters don't really promote the boxers. You actually, even though your job is to promote, it's only when they have a fight they're actually promoting the fight, but they don't actually promote the boxers themselves outside of competition. So my whole point of saying that is Ramirez and Bivol, they don't speak English. They're not on social media a lot. So that's why they kind of fell. They kind of fall under the radar. They kind of fell under the radar as far as people knowing them. But like I said, very good fight. So the official scorecards, sorry for being long-winded with that. The official scorecards were 118-110, 117-111, and 2 scorecards of 117-111. My official scorecard was 116-112, and shout out to my boy Randy, who also scored the fight. He scored at 115-113 for Bivol. My going through the rounds now. Let's go through the rounds. Where's everybody in the chat? Please put up your scorecards. Put up your scorecards. Give a quick explanation, please. Round one. So, how many close rounds did I have? I marked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rounds marked as close rounds. The official breakdown for that was I had Bivol winning 4 close rounds and Ramirez winning 2 close rounds. And as I explain all the time, if a close round means it could have went either way. You gave it to one person, but it could have went either way. So sometimes when you see a wide scorecard and you might think it's too wide, if there was a lot of close rounds that the judge had that could have went either way, that's why some scorecards are a little bit wider than others. Round one, my notes for round one. Who did I give it to? First of all, I gave the first 4 rounds to Bivol. The first round I marked as a close round, both landing clean, but it was close, but Bivol was pressing more. That's what separated them. So they were both landing clean in the first round, but because Bivol was putting more pressure, that's what made the difference for me. Just because one fighter is coming forward doesn't mean that you're automatically winning the round just because you're coming forward, but it's the effectiveness of you coming forward that makes the difference. Round 2 also gave to Bivol. My notes for round 2 is it's not just the pressure from Bivol, it's effective pressure, as I just mentioned. It's not just the simple fact that he's coming forward, it's what he's doing with his coming forwardness. And it was pretty obvious, like I said, Ramirez was the bigger man, but he wasn't using his size. You can tell he wasn't too confident in his defense, or he was just worried about getting counterpunched because he was hesitating a little way extra. My notes for round 3: Ramirez not confident in his defense, hesitating to throw because he's a step slower than Bivol. You can see that Bivol was the faster fighter. Again, speed doesn't automatically make you win, because the other person can also time you. Just because if you're faster, the other person can still time you and catch you. Perfect example is Canelo and Amir Khan. Amir Khan was winning that fight until Canelo timed him and caught him, put him to sleep. So that is what Bivol was not hesitating, but at the same time, he was being very smart with the way he was coming forward. And again, just the confidence that he had coming forward like that, because he was clearly the smaller guy, even though they both weighed the same on the scale. Physically, you can see Ramirez was bigger. Round 4. My notes for round 4, which I gave to Bivol. Ramirez throwing good high lows and counter jabs, but not nearly enough. He's the bigger guy, but fighting like he's worried about Bivol's power. Yeah, man. Like, even though Ramirez was bigger, he was fighting. The way that Ramirez was fighting, he made it look like he was worried about Bivol's power hurting him. So it was either that he wasn't too confident in his defense, or just, yeah, like I said, he was hesitating to throw because he was worried about getting counterpunched by Bivol, which Bivol was doing a very good job of. Round 5 was the first round that I gave to Ramirez. This was the first round. My notes for round 5 was this was the first round that Ramirez took advantage of his size. He made Bivol back up most of the time with effective punches. Bivol landed good in the last minute, but Ramirez controlled most of the action. Yeah, in that last minute, Bivol did land a few. I think he had like 2 combination sequences that he landed in the last minute, but Ramirez controlled most of the action in that 5th round, so I gave it back to him. Round 6, I marked as a close round, and I gave round 6 to Bivol. My notes for round 6 was not much separated this round. Bivol was just a little bit more accurate. So that was the only difference that I saw there. Bivol being a little bit more accurate, but I did mark it as a close round. Round 7. What did I give that round to? Round 7 I gave to Bivol. My specific notes for round 7 were Bivol is trying to stop him. perfect 1-2s, 1-2 hooks, posting him up. Yeah. In that round, it was clear Bivol stepped on the gas pedal and was going for the kill against Ramirez. With doing simple things like a simple 1-2 accurate right down the middle, and then coming forward with a 1-2 and a long hook, all three punches landing. Yeah, that was a beautiful combination sequence for Bivol in that round there. It was clear punches landed. Round eight, I marked it as a close round, and I gave it to Ramirez. My specific notes for round 8 was Ramirez landed slightly cleaner that round. When Ramirez lands clean, Bivol's head snaps back. Like when Ramirez was landing clean, it was obvious that they were landed on Bivol because his head was like snapping back. Which I'm wondering why he couldn't do more of it. I mean, obviously there was something was going on in Ramirez's head that was making him hesitate. There was something going on there. Round 9, I marked it as a close round. I gave it to Bivol, and my specific notes for round 9 was multiple combination combos. 10 punch sequences. Yeah, Bivol had one punch. This reminds me too. Sometimes when you see people doing like fast pads, when they're hitting the hand pads, they'll do 15, 20 punch combinations. And there's always some random person that has a comment that says, that's unnecessary. No one ever throws that many punches. Well, Bivol proved that yes, you do. Yes, you can throw that many punches. Not just this time here in the last round that I mentioned in my notes. Like he landed, it was at least 8-9 punches in a row that he threw, and at least 6 of them landed. So, little side note there: for people that do pads, yes, it is realistic to do multiple sequence, a high number of punches in that sequence of pads. Round 10, I gave to Ramirez, and I didn't mark it as a close round, so it was clear for Ramirez. My notes for round 10 was effective pressure from Ramirez. I wrote down close, though, even though I didn't mark it as a close round. But yeah, round 10 to Ramirez because he had effective pressure. Once again, just because you're walking forward doesn't mean you're winning the fight. But just because you're walking forward doesn't mean you're winning the fight. It's what you're doing with that pressure. Again, effective pressure, not just random pressure. Round 11. I didn't write any notes for round 11, but I marked it as a close round, and I gave it to Bivol. And round 12, final round, I marked it as a close round, and I gave it to Ramirez. My notes for round 12 was Ramirez barely. So that one was close too. So yeah, final score 116 to 112 for Mr. Bivol. My prediction before the fight was a split decision. For Bivol. It was unanimous. All judges gave it to Bivol, which I'm not I'm not surprised. I am just surprised at I thought Ramirez was going to give up a little bit more action, a little bit more of a fight. But you can see, Bivol, once again, he was good before he fought Canelo. It wasn't just the Canelo fight that gave him the experience and the confidence to fight this way in his next match. He already had the skill level before he fought Canelo. A high amateur experience from Russia. And yeah, man. So he's clearly, Bivol is clearly the second best in the light heavyweight division. Now, you say second best, it's almost like I wouldn't even consider like A and B. It's almost like Better Biev, who's another quiet guy, not on social media. Not a lot of people know who he is, but will smash your favorite fighter. One of the most dominant fighters in the sport. Better Biev, the number one guy at the light heavyweight division. Bivol is a close second. And like I said, it's almost like A and A plus and A minus. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't even consider Bivol the second best guy. He's just as good. Well, I shouldn't say just as good, because the one thing that does separate Beterbiev and Bivol, because that's, everyone's saying now, is asking the question who would win between those two guys. And just off the top of the head, that people that really haven't done the background research would probably say Bivol has the better skill level than Beterbiev. Beterbiev will smash you. Bivol will outbox you. Only problem with that thought is, in the amateurs, the reason why Bivol didn't qualify for the Olympics is because Beterbiev was the number one guy. So yeah, they were in this similar situation as amateurs. I don't know if they fought each other though as amateurs. I should have done that quick research. So let me look that up real quick. They both, anyways, like I said, at the amateur level, it was Beterbiev and then Bivol right under him. Right now at the professional level, at the height of their careers, Beterbiev is right there and Bivol is right under him too. So it's going to be interesting to see how, if they do fight each other. Obviously they should. But that'll be very interesting, man. That'd be very interesting. Off the top of my head, who would I go for? As a coach, I of course would have to, not have to, but in most situations where it's where it's close and you're not sure who to pick, I would pick the better boxer. But Beterbiev, I guess you could say, has adjusted better to the pro game because he stops most of his opponent. I'm pretty sure he stopped. Yeah, every single opponent. Beterbiev has a 100% knockout rate. I mentioned this last time when I did the show on Beterbiev. According to the numbers, if you fight Beterbiev, there is a 100% chance you're getting knocked out. So think about that for a second. There's every single opponent that steps in the ring with Beterbiev does not go the distance. With that being said, every opponent that Bivol has been in the ring with has not left with a win. Bivol has beat everyone. Some of them close, but he doesn't take any damage. I don't, off the top of my head, I haven't studied every single one of Bivol's fights, but I've watched most of them, and I can't remember a time where he was visibly hurt. Obviously, some punches do hurt. You don't have to be, wobbly legs or falling all over the place. You don't have to get an 8 count in order to consider it a hard punch. You can get hit with a hard punch at any time. So my whole point of saying that is Beterbiev and Bivol. I gotta stick with Beterbiev. I'm gonna stick with Beterbiev just because the only thing that separates them, I believe, is the punching power. Even though Beterbiev is known as a hard knockout puncher, he still has the boxing skills. He's not just simply a monster walking forward with some strong punches. He actually is setting up these punches properly, but he's setting up for the kill. So that's the difference between Beterbiev and Bivol. Where does Bivol go from here? Again, it's going to be interesting. Hopefully, they can make that fight with Beterbiev. If not, if the fight with Beterbiev does not happen, he has options. I mean, I know Bivol's probably looking for the. He wouldn't mind doing that Canelo rematch for that payday, but I do not think Canelo is going to be taking that rematch. He could see Canelo. Canelo is in an interesting position right now because everywhere he turns, he has a killer in front of him. he can have that rematch with Bivol, who he lost to, who was bigger than him, and clearly outboxed him. He can go into that rematch He can turn this way and go, stay at 168 and face David Benavidez, who just now in recent times people are more saying that David Benavidez would beat Canelo. I was saying this 2 years ago. 2 years ago, and people thought I was crazy. You guys know who you are. People thought I was crazy when I said that I thought Benavidez had what it takes to beat Canelo. But for some reason, now it's only now that people are coming around to it. And if you notice, you'll hear a lot of people now picking Benavidez over Canelo. But 2 years ago, I swear I was one of the only people saying that. So Canelo could pick those problems there. I guess the weakest link out of Canelo's options would be Charlo, and that's not a weak link. That's just as far as the level the top guys go, Bivol, Benavidez. I'm missing another name. Who am I missing? Somebody in the chat help me out. There's somebody that I'm missing at 168. Anyways, even Caleb Plant before he stopped him, Caleb Plant gave him problems. I had Caleb Plant winning that fight. So, and if Caleb Plant continues, you guys remember, had the knockout of the week as he victimized Durrell last week or the week before. So if Caleb Plant continues like that, he can earn himself a rematch. If he continues knocking guys out like that, because nobody expected that from Caleb Plant. Everyone expected a 12-round boxing session, which it was for most of that fight between Plant and Durrell. But then Plant came with that big knockout and stopped him. I got to plug in my laptop. Yeah. So, what can we take away from Bivol's skills? Speed and accuracy. Speed and accuracy is the main things that Bivol had going on over the much bigger Ramirez. Again, you pull up the highlights and you'll see how much bigger Ramirez was, but he couldn't use that size to his advantage. And as the smaller guy, as the smaller person, Bivol used smaller skills techniques, which was speed and just making sure your skill level was on point, which means making sure your punches were perfectly accurate. So yeah. And there you have it. Where does Mr. Ramirez go from here? He still has a good. This is the only, guy had 44 matches. This was his first loss against one of the top guys in the sport. So he's good. He still has time to grow. He's 31 years old, still in his prime. Still in his physical prime. So he still has some good fights left, good 5-6 years left. So it's going to be interesting. He'll have some. What I think Ramirez should work on is more of his speed, not power. More speed, more doing stuff like the double end bag, speed bag to work on your timing, not necessarily obviously the heavy bag is a part of the training, but think of more punching when you're training lighter and faster as opposed to just single knockout power punches. So lighter and faster is what I would suggest Ramirez to work on in his next training camp, getting ready for his next bout. Yeah. And Bivol, just being busy, man. Just keep doing what you're doing, because it doesn't look like only person that could see giving him trouble is Beterbiev. I don't see anybody at light heavyweight giving Bivol that work to make him lose. And obviously he's not going to go down in weight class to challenge anybody. He's already beat Canelo, who most people would consider the best at 168. So yeah, man, I guess the only thing to have now is Beterbiev versus Bivol. Yeah, and there you have it. That is it for this week. Thank you very much for tuning in, listening in. Nobody's in the comments though. Where's everybody at, man? I know it's the daylight savings time thing. I don't know if people are a little bit late this week, but anyway, hope to see you guys next week. Like, share, and subscribe, please. If you haven't liked this video, please like it and tell a friend to tell a friend that I'm here every Sunday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. If you can't catch the show live, you could catch it on any podcast platform. Shout out to Talkin Fight, all the different type of shows that we have on the Talkin Fight YouTube channel. Not the scorecard of the week, knockout of the week, prospects during the week, female boxing show, the Sugar Champ show on Wednesdays, and all the other shows that we have on the Talkin Fight YouTube channel. Different voices, different opinions, different educated opinions about the boxing game. So yeah, there you have it. I'm at Cedric Sports on any social media platform too. So yeah. Shout out to Talkin Fight. Tell a friend to tell a friend, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.